Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to unpack one of the most fascinating and totally unintended paradoxes in modern tech history. We are looking at how the West's massive pivot toward advanced AI chips inadvertently funded China's meteoric rise in the foundational memory chip market. It's a crazy story of shifting global power, unexpected consequences, and the raw economics of supply and demand.
Picture this. It's July 16, 2026, and we have a real tale of two cities unfolding on the exact same day. On one side, in Taipei, TSMC is popping champagne over a record quarter, and leadership is openly marveling at the staggering 86% gross margins in the memory sector. It was loud, it was celebrated, a classic tech giant success. But just over 1,000 kilometers away in Shanghai, a very different kind of bell rang. Changshin Memory Technologies, or CXMT, China's national DRAM champion, quietly pulled off a massive $4.3 billion IPO on the STAR market. It was the largest A-share IPO of the entire year, and it was heavily backed by state funds.
And that split screen brilliantly captures the irony we're digging into today. As one South Korean industry executive perfectly put it, the absolute frenzy for AI opened up a massive backdoor for China. You see, by abandoning everyday electronics to chase the sky-high margins of AI chips, global heavyweights essentially left the front door wide open for China's national champions to just step right in and take over the conventional memory market.
Section 1. The AI boom's irony. So how exactly did this happen? How did the AI boom fall right into Beijing's lap?
Well, the sheer scale of the shift is just staggering. 700%. That is not a typo. That is how much CXMT's first quarter revenue surged in 2026, hitting roughly $7.1 billion. Why? Because the global big three, Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron, pivoted almost all of their manufacturing capacity to feed the AI beast. Suddenly, Western PC makers like Dell, HP, and Lenovo literally couldn't get enough standard DDR5 memory for normal laptops and phones. They were scrambling, and they had absolutely nowhere else to turn but CXMT. The AI boom actually forced Western tech companies to buy from the very Chinese supplier that international controls were originally designed to constrain.
Section 2. China's commodity chip surge. Let's look at how China capitalized on this massive void to become the unexpected fourth player at the global table.
The most crucial takeaway here is the rapid shift in market share. For years, the global DRAM market was this impenetrable oligopoly, but CXMT has quickly carved out roughly 8% of the global market, moving incredibly aggressively into the exact space the big three left behind. Now sure, 8% might look a little small next to that 92% block, but in a market worth hundreds of billions of dollars, that represents a massive, rapid shifting of the tectonic plates.
And they aren't just selling cheap bargain bin chips anymore either. While South Korea was holding these massive fanfare-filled press conferences to announce their long-term mega plans, China was quietly signing massive domestic purchase orders. Take a look at this multi-year server DRAM deal with Tencent, worth nearly $2.94 billion. Server DRAM is a high-value product. It's not basic consumer memory. A deal of this magnitude proves CXMT is rapidly moving its way up the value ladder.
The pace of their expansion is wild. CXMT's wafer capacity is projected to grow 68% in 2026 alone. Their latest DDR5 technology is hitting highly competitive 80% yields. All of this is fueled by heavy state capital, specifically Big Fund 2, and guided by China's 15th five-year plan. Now, to keep things completely impartial, we do need to note the claims coming from the other side. Seoul prosecutors allege that trade secret theft, specifically involving former employees of South Korean tech giants, played a significant role in this rapid technological catch-up. But regardless of the mix of methods, the end result is undeniably a formidable manufacturing base.
Section 3. The advanced HBM siege.
So commodity memory pays the bills. But to understand the real geopolitical chess match, we have to look at the advanced HBM siege.
To grasp why this specific tech is treated like a geopolitical fortress, we need a quick definition. High bandwidth memory, or HBM, consists of highly advanced, vertically stacked memory chips. They are the absolute critical bottleneck for running top-tier AI accelerators. Basically, without HBM, your entire AI revolution grinds to a halt. And unlike standard everyday memory, HBM is heavily guarded by international export controls.
You can see exactly how this siege is playing out in real time. Back in December 2024, the US banned exports of advanced HBM to China. But there was a historic one-month gap in enforcement, and in just that single month, Chinese firms ruthlessly stockpiled an estimated 7 million chips. That's over $1 billion worth of HBM snatched up before the wall was fully built. Right now, they're using that massive stockpile to buy themselves time, while CXMT targets the launch of their very own domestic HBM packaging facilities by the end of 2026.
But here's the catch. The wall is only getting taller. With the upcoming HBM4 generation, the whole architecture changes. The base die, which is like the control tower of the memory stack, actually has to move to advanced logic foundries like TSMC. The problem for Beijing? TSMC's doors are closed to China due to export controls, and China's own domestic foundry, SMIC, is heavily sanctioned. This means the memory siege actually evolves into a full-blown semiconductor blockade. They can't just innovate in memory anymore. They have to innovate in advanced logic at the exact same time. Section 4. The Quiet NAND Miracle. While CXMT is fighting an uphill battle against that advanced DRAM siege, let's look at the quiet miracle happening over in flash memory, with a company called YMTC.
The sheer numbers here are pretty astounding, especially when you consider the context. YMTC was hit with brutal sanctions back in December 2022, and honestly, they were written off by a lot of analysts. Yet, their wafer output has absolutely skyrocketed since then, pushing their revenue up a record-breaking 445% year-on-year in Q1 2026. They have practically leveled up with massive global competitors like Micron and SanDisk in global NAND market share. They didn't fold under the pressure, they accelerated.
And what's even more strategically important than their revenue is how they are building these chips. YMTC is currently piloting production lines built entirely with domestic Chinese tools. By sourcing locally and debranding equipment, they're actively bypassing the international chokeholds. It's gotten to the point where they are so formidable and so essential to global supply that even Apple, who had to walk away from them in 2022 because of political pressure, is reportedly reevaluating them for supply amid the current global shortage.
Section 5. Shifting global rules. Now, this entire story doesn't happen in a vacuum. The global rules of the game shifted drastically, creating an entirely new environment by 2026.
Let's look at how this all builds across the geopolitical landscape. First, U.S. licensing changes effectively turned foreign fabrication plants located inside China into geographic hostages, operating on tight, year-to-year approvals. Second, trade rules were tweaked to actually allow NVIDIA's H200 chips back into China, but with incredibly strict volume caps and tariffs, keeping China reliant on foreign supply for AI. Third, Beijing's response was systemic. They unleashed their massive capital markets. Those multi-billion-dollar IPOs we talked about, those aren't just exits for investors. They are state-mobilized war chests explicitly designed to fund the next domestic tech leap.
Section 6. 2 wars, 2 scoreboards. Okay, it's time to connect all these dots and look at the final verdict across these 2 very distinct battlefields. If we look at the honest scoreboard, straight from the source data, it really is a tale of 2 different wars. China is decisively winning the commodity memory war. By sweeping up the everyday market that the AI giants totally left behind, they're seeing record profits and climbing market share. But on the second front, they remain locked out of the advanced HBM war. They are currently losing that battle, relying heavily on dwindling stockpiles and urgent, localized R&D to try and catch up to a target that just keeps moving further away. So what you should really take away from this is how these 2 scoreboards interact with each other. The massive 2,000+% profit surges CXMT is seeing in the commodity market aren't just sitting in a savings account somewhere. They are actively funding the billions of dollars needed to research and build the siege engines for the advanced HBM war. Essentially, every single quarter of global commodity shortage acts as tuition. The West's insatiable demand for AI is literally paying for China's semiconductor doctorate.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly provocative thought. As the US, South Korea, and Taiwan focus entirely on the absolute cutting edge of AI memory, they are stepping away from the foundation. When the dust finally settles on this whole tech rivalry, whether that wall comes down by some massive technological breakthrough or by a political treaty, will the rest of the world have entirely forgotten how to manufacture the fundamental chips that run our daily lives? Or will China be the only one left who still remembers how to make them? Thank you for joining this explainer. I really hope this helps you see the global semiconductor landscape with entirely new eyes.